This podcast is supported by FX's English Teacher, a new comedy from executive producers of What We Do in the Shadows and Baskets. English Teacher follows Evan, a teacher in Austin, Texas, who learns if it's really possible to be your full self at your job while often finding himself at the intersection of the personal, professional, and political aspects of working at a high school. FX's English Teacher premieres September 2nd on FX. Stream on Hulu.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use, but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame, Honey Dip, and Carta.
Honey Dip. Okay.
Yep.
That's your name?
Yep. It is.
Why's your name Honey Dip?
I don't know, I just thought it sounded cool. Because, I heard this woman named Queen Latifah. I'm not sure. Not sure if she's like a queen of a country, but she's living in America. I'm not really sure, but
is she that lady? Is she that equalizer lady?
Yeah, it's the equalizer lady, but she's also a queen, I guess, of a country. I'm not really sure, but she said she was a honey dip in a movie from 2002, and I thought it was kind of neat, so I decided I was going to change my name
to Honey Dip.
Sesame Honey Dip. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what that means, but okay.
I'm very confused about that, but
it sounds kind of sexual to me.
It does. I was wondering. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of it seemed like a euphemism. I'm not sure, but and also this is probably the second time or the second movie, perhaps even the third movie actually that we reviewed where bestiality is heavily implied.
Yep. Gotta love it.
Yep. Gotta love bestiality. No.
And at least two of them have been Disney movies. So,
yes, maybe the right wing.
I was gonna say maybe the right wing are onto something here. So.
Yes.
Oh Lord. Yeah. So, today on our wonderful show, we are covering the 2002 cinematic masterpiece, the film that changed cinema forever. Disney's The Country Bears.
Yep.
So, really quick, the synopsis here on the Internet Movie Database is Beary Barrington goes on an adventure to save Country Bear Hall by getting the Country Bears back together for a reunion concert. Yep. So this movie, it was directed by Peter Hastings. Peter is known for being a producer on a bunch of animated stuff from like Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Lilo and Stitch, the series, Kung Fu Panda, the Dragon Knight TV series. As far as directing goes, he's got this Mission Space, which I think is I think it's part of a ride at Disneyland or Disney World. So a short film called Hard Enough, and in pre-production right now for a movie called Dog Man, which is a Dog Man, which sounds like a great film here. It's Dog Man, half dog, half man. He is sworn to protect and serve as he doggedly pursues the feline supervillain Petey the cat.
Oh my fucking god!
It sounds like a great film. This was
it does sound like Citizen. Yeah,
the Citizen Kane of dog movies. Mark Perez wrote this movie. He is known as the writer of Herbie Fully Loaded. He wrote the movie Accepted with Justin Long and Jonah Hill, which I actually really liked. He wrote the movie Game Night, which I haven't seen yet. Yeah, this was one of his early films. But yeah, he wrote a TV movie called The Back Nine. Yeah, so we got that. And the movie stars a bunch of people. The first and most important person we need to talk about is Christopher Walken as Reed Thimple, a banker. Okay. These are going to be first I'm going to go through all the live action actors. We've got Stephen Tobolowsky as Norbert Barrington, Barry's adoptive father. We got Daryl Chill Mitchell as Officer Hamm, an inept police officer. C.Gainey as Roadie, the bus driver for the Country Bears, and he's also their drummer. So they're not all bears. So yeah. Anyways, Dietrich Bader as Officer Cheets, another inept police officer who wears a fake mustache. Alex Rocco as Rip Holland, the former promoter of the Country Bears. Alex Rocco, famous Baha'i, who's passed away.
Yeah.
Megan Faye as Allison Barrington, Barry's excitable yet easily worried adoptive mother. She also played Jonah's mother on Superstore. We've got Eli Martenthal as Dexter Dex Barrington, Barry's adoptive older brother. He also played the younger Stifler boy in American Pie 1 and 2.
Wow.
Yeah, so Stifler's little brother. And which was then replaced when they finally made Band Camp by another actor.
Go back like 6 years for our review of Band Camp.
Yes, it's one of the greatest reviews ever. Jennifer Page, a singer as a waitress. Jess Harnell, who it's weird. He doesn't do any voice work in this movie, but he's most known as a voiceover artist. He's Wacko Warner in the Animaniacs, among others. He's just probably one of the most well-known voiceover artists ever, but he plays a long-haired dude, one of the Bears fans who was later seen with Dex in the audience at the end of the film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that.
So we've also got a bunch of cameos. We've got the singer Crystal. We've got Don Henley as himself. We've got John Hyatt as himself. We got Wyclef Jean as himself. We got Sir Elton John as himself. Queen Latifah as herself, as well as Cha-Cha, the manager of the Swarming Hive Honey Bar restaurant. Willie Nelson as himself, Bonnie Raitt as herself, Brian Setzer as himself, Don Was as himself, Exhibit as himself. And now we come to the voice cast here. We've got Haley Joel Osment as Beary Barrington, with Elizabeth Daily as his singing voice, also known as E.G. Daily. Now we've got an interesting little voice person here. Okay, Dietrich Bader, who plays one of the cops, is also the voice of Ted Betterhead, the lead vocalist of the band. So he has 2 roles in this movie. John Hyatt does his singing, though. We got Candy Ford as Trixie Sinclair. Her singing is done by Bonnie Raitt. James Gammon as Big Al, the sluggish elderly property caretaker for the Country Bear Hall. He's James Gammon, people may know as the manager of the Indians in the Major League movies. We got Brad Garrett as Fred Betterhead, a harmonica playing bassist of the band. We have Toby Huss as Tennessee O'Neill, the one-string guitar player. Yeah, his Don Henley does his singing voice. We've got Kevin Michael Richardson as Henry Dixon Taylor, the MC and manager of the Country Bears. And then we have Stephen Root, who everybody knows from News Radio and Office Space, among other things, as Zeb Zuber, the fiddle player for the Country Bears. And he's the only one of the voice actors that does their own singing. So the song he sings, I was just like listening to it and I was like, is that actually him? And it was Stephen Root. I was impressed. But anyways, that's our main cast here. So yeah, so initial thoughts, reaction, whatever you want to call it to this here, Sesame?
Man, I just thought it was bizarre. This movie, it felt like there was like two different genres going on, and they tried to sort of meld them together, but they still ended up being like separate from each other. So it was just like having two of them going on side by side. 2002 was a very interesting time for particularly these type of movies. I remember a lot of these kind of movies coming out around 2000 to like 2002.
Yeah.
But none quite as bizarre as this one.
Yeah, it's not too many like this. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's the greatest film that's ever been produced.
Well, there you go.
I seriously think it's better than Citizen Kane, and
Oh wow.
it's better than Casablanca. It's better than Gone with the Wind or The Wizard of Oz or any of those movies, you know?
Shit.
Like any movie you've ever seen, you know, it's better than the latest Deadpool and Wolverine movie. It's better than
Oh, I still want to see that, man. I haven't seen it yet.
It's better than every MCU film. It's
Okay. Wow.
And I'm lying. This is quite possibly one of the strangest movies I've ever seen in my life.
You talk about Deadpool or this one?
This one.
Oh yeah, no, it's actually this would have been cool if it wasn't the MCU, but like one of the weird universes, like in the multiverse, like when Doctor Strange, they went to like a paint universe. There was one that was like everyone was like floating. Then they should have gone to the Country Bear universe.
This has got almost speaking of Marvel, it's got kind of a Howard the Duck sort of feel to it.
Yeah.
So where you've got people in costumes that are animatronically controlled, with the exception of the fact that the costumes here are a lot better than the one in Howard the Duck.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
another
bizarre movie.
These creatures were all created by the Jim Henson Creature Shop, so that tells you that they know what they're doing. I mean, the same people that did the Turtles for the first two live action Ninja Turtle movies, so as well as
classics.
Yeah, as well as all their other things. Speaking of Jim Henson, the plot of this movie is very similar to the 2011 Muppet movie. So, the Muppets.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I don't think. No. I think I did when it came out.
Yeah, it's very similar plot. There's there's like a theater or in this case a hall that a big bad guy wants to destroy for some reason, and they need to raise money, and the only way to do it is get the band back together. And there's an outsider who happens to be, in this case, a bear, and in that movie, a Muppet who lives with a human family and travels across the country and meets his heroes and then helps get the band back together. Yep. It's the same plot.
Ripped it off. Yeah, they just literally took 9 years later.
Yeah.
They just were like...
But then again, it's your similar plot, like, I think like Judy Garland and without getting the band back together, but like, oh no, we're gonna lose the whatever, we're gonna put on a show and save it, sort of thing. I think like Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney had movies like that back in the day. So it's like,
oh yeah, there's like ton. I've probably seen
it's a trope. I mean, I think like that animated Sing movie similar and stuff and everything. But so what goes down in this bizarre world of bears and humans living like coexisting and no one mentioning the fact that they do, really?
Yeah, it's one of those movies where they just accept the rules of that universe, where it's just like, yeah, I don't know, because it's weird though, because sometimes that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about how I felt like there was like two genres competing with each other about what this movie actually was, because like at one point it seemed like they didn't even know that Barry was actually a bear, like the cops at least. Like I don't know. If that's
It's like they don't act like anything's weird about Barry. It's a very strange movie too, with the fact that you know what the first line of actual spoken dialogue in the movie is.
I forgot. No,
Barry's sitting there and he's like, "Mom, am I adopted?"
Oh, right. That was after the intro. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because he's like,
it's the first spoken dialogue in the movie. It's like because the other part's sung.
So with that, I was thinking, okay, you know, the parents, you know, they don't want them to feel, you know, self-conscious, you know, so they're kind of dodging the question. Whereas his older brother is like, you know, being a fucking piece of shit. So he's like, well, of course, don't look at yourself. But then other people in the movie were then acting like they didn't even know he was a bear. So it's like, all right, so what's going on here then?
Yeah, because
like,
I didn't know if that was just the fact that the cops are like supposed to be inept, you know, cops, or if that's just a common thing, like people just don't comment on the fact that bears and humans are living in harmony.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been that, or yeah, like you said, the cops just could have been stupid, like they kind of did play that role, and you know, they were, I don't know, who knows. The movie does have one thing I absolutely hate when they anthropomorphize animals with human characteristics. Like I'm fine with like talking, you know, like things like that, but I hate it when they have animals do move like humans, like arms and legs. No, like let them walk like they're supposed to, or let them move the way that the animal is actually supposed to move. Like don't have a fish standing on its hind gills or whatever and walk.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like don't do that.
I mean,
like,
it's totally a cartoon thing, though. I mean, you've got like, you know, like Yogi Bear walks on his hind legs and walks around, and you know, bears can walk on their hind legs, and they do, but it's still, yeah.
It's not, if they don't do it like the whole time.
No.
And and their feet don't look like human feet, and they don't walk like humans. They don't talk like humans.
Are you fine with them dressing like humans?
That's fine. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you can dress however you want. That's not the problem, because sometimes people dress animals and shit. It's not a big deal. But like, I don't know. It's just like even with the cartoons, like Yogi Bear, I didn't like that either. But like with cartoons, you can at least do something with it because you're drawing it, you know. But like when you have a person in a costume,
I mean,
animatronic.
We should probably talk about the fact before we get too deep in the plot that this is based on the attraction, the Country Bear Jamboree that was at Disneyland and Disney World. Have you ever been to either?
No, I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, this is what it's based on. I went to the Country Bear Jamboree at Disney World when I was a kid. They've recently, this was what made me think of this movie, because I read an article. They just opened in earlier this, like I think in July or something of this year, they opened a new version of the Country Bear Jamboree, retitled the Country Bear Musical Jamboree at Magic Kingdom. And it's still in the same theater, but they like redressed a lot of the bears. They changed the music out, a lot of it, where now they're singing instead of singing like standard country songs and random stuff that they used to sing. Now they're singing like Disney songs. I've watched some video of it. There's mixed reviews for it. You know, of course, nobody ever wants change, because like anytime something changes in the world, that means that the world is like gonna explode and your childhood is gonna be ruined. And yeah, but
I love that too. Like I always love when people like, "Oh, childhood ruined." It's like, really? Yeah. Like how? Like it's okay, whatever.
Did your childhood not exist now because they, you know, remade your favorite movie, or because, you know, Indiana Jones went to get some crystal skulls and now you hate the world? But anyway, so
yeah, exactly. But
the new one, it's basically they're singing like songs from different Pixar and Disney movies, like, you know, like, I don't know, like A Whole New World and shit like that. So yeah.
Oh boy. So yeah, that kind of made sense, because I kind of had these vague memories of like seeing clips of this, you know, or sometimes they'd play it like whatever you sometimes
yeah.
see
It's basically they're kind
like,
of they're animatronics similar in style to like I guess Chuck E. Cheese and stuff, but this basically inspired the creation of like Showbiz Pizza and Chuck E. Cheese pizza and stuff. So different people went to Disney World and they're like, we can do this on a cheaper level and put it in restaurants, you know? So of course these audio animatronics are a lot more sophisticated at Disney than they are when you go see those scary things that used to be at Chuck E. Cheese, you know? So
yeah, I know, the fucking pizza rat.
yeah.
I just love the fact that his mascot is a rat.
Well, he was supposed to be a coyote. Supposed to be a coyote, but they realized that they bought a rat costume instead of a coyote one, and so they just went with it. So
they just went with it,
yeah.
But anyway, so this movie is basically about this band called the Country Bears. They used to be a really huge country rock band back, in the 80s or maybe 70s.
The way the movie portrays them is like they're bigger than the Beatles or something, you know. So.
Yeah, like they're supposed to be like absolutely huge, and they broke up at some point, and for some reason they played all of their shows in like the Country Bear cabin type place.
It's the Country Bear Hall, but I don't think they played all their shows there because the one at the beginning was in a completely different place.
I see.
It was obviously like I think the Country Bear Hall was like their main stage, like that they would play, like kind of like they probably have like. They'd play there more often but then they'd go on tour because otherwise they wouldn't have a bus.
Right. I mean, that kind of makes sense because like Metallica, they kind of really started off in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when they really started popping off because like they were in LA for a while and they didn't really like the LA scene. So they moved to San Francisco and they pretty much like played most of their shows like in one particular theater, like that's
and if you get like really famous, you get to that point in your career where you're just doing that Vegas shows, like Elvis or Celine Dion or something,
But hey, man, that's actually kind of cool because you don't have to tour, you don't have to, you play and then you
can
go
bring
back
your family with you, and
and you get to gamble off your money on the casino and lose everything. Then you have to keep performing because now you gotta make the money to pay the debts to your bookies and to the house, and things of that nature. Get your knees broken.
And then eventually you get hooked on drugs and die on the toilet, and then it's all good,
Right.
Wait.
Yeah. Wait, what? I don't know. Just anyway. Sorry. So they're like this big band. None of them were rich for some reason, which they never really explained why all of them are like broke, even though like they were like this huge, super successful band. They should have done something like that, like they like got on drugs and they blew all their money on hookers or whatever. Well, it's Disney, so they couldn't say that, but like
they all got hooked. They all got hooked on the honey, and
on the honey. They kept making points about that, like anyway. So I'm like jumping ahead, but like so basically they broke up. There's like this Beary is like the main. He's like a kid. He's obsessed with this band. He's got like a whole collage, like in his journal or whatever. He like knows like everything about them, like their whole history, whatnot.
If I were his parents, I would have put him in therapy a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I would have done that too. It's like, okay, dude, like it's okay to like you could because that's the other thing too. Because later on in the movie, we find out that he wrote like a book report on them, and the teacher even wrote like, is there anything else to talk about besides the Country Bears?
Yeah, and then they show that he did he made like a little model of the Country Bear Hall as well, and the same thing was written on it from the teacher. So
it's right because the teacher gave him an A+ for the work, but they're like, hey man, like how about you expand your horizon a bit, like.
So I just want to remind people again that these are anthropomorphic bears just living with humans. The whole time I'm watching the movie, that's all I'm thinking. It's like, the fuck?
Nobody bats an eye. They're just it's there. It's like kind of like the cornyverse, the CSU, the CCU, the corny cinematic universe. Like people just accept that Corny or Capricorn
lives with them.
Given name.
Same thing here. Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, it totally makes sense that he came from the planet Zarkon, and then he came here to teach children street smarts, even though he's the one that's constantly getting kidnapped all the time. But that's another thing. But like,
yeah, but like here we've just got, but it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of bears though. It's like, it just seems like there's just random ones, and most of them are connected somehow to the country bears. Like, it's just weird, but yeah.
Well, you're right. That's the thing. I don't think there are. Yeah, I think every single one of them. So maybe they're like this weird freak of nature where.
But it's like even in the crowd of their shows, it's like all humans. It's not like...
So that's what makes this movie even more bizarre. So now we have established that there are anthropomorphic bears and they're musicians and people tend to really love them, but they're the only anthropomorphic bears alive, and they all happen to be musicians. Some reason, or
people that run the hall, or friends of them, or a random boy that's adopted by a human family.
And then there's no. So that's the other thing. So is one of those bears the parents of Barry? They didn't even go there. I was thinking, oh, maybe one of them left them, or lost them or whatever, and then
that'd have been too deep
family.
For this movie.
No, of course they did. Like, no, who cares? We're not even gonna do that. But anyway, so basically his older brother is a piece of shit and is always like telling him he doesn't belong there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's not really part of the family. Typical, well, I'm not going to be mean here, but like later on in their bedroom, because they sleep on different sides of the bedroom, of course, Barry's got all these posters for the country bears. His older brother has like 3 or 4 Limp Bizkit posters
and a 9-inch wall. And a 9-inch nails.
Already piece of shit. And 9-inch nails. Yeah. And Cold. And it's like, okay, like again, it's just like whoever made this movie didn't understand genres. Like Limp Bizkit is nu metal. Cold would sort of be considered nu metal, even though they're not. But then suddenly we got 9-inch nails, and it's just like,
but
okay,
I mean, people like different things.
Not him. No, not him. I've made a decision, not him. I know people do, but he's not a person in my book. So
I mean, because when I was a kid, I would listen to like Billy Joel, and then pop in like 9-inch nails after it. It's not like you know what I mean.
But you're a unique person. Come on, you used to watch the fucking Bob Newhart show when you were like 8. Like, it's not like normal. You know what I mean? Like that was like an adult show.
There's nothing wrong with it. Rest in peace, Bob. But
it's wrong in saying that. Like, it's not the norm for an 8-year-old to watch the Bob Newhart show.
I like Dick Van Dyke too. I liked Mary Tyler Moore. I liked all those.
Exactly. But that's not the norm. And with this kid, anyway, he basically like practically forces Barry to run away because of what he said. And so Barry eventually finds the country club, or the club, or whatever, the hall.
Country Bear Hall.
The Country Bear Hall, finds out that they're pretty much struggling financially, very hard. And they can't, they're 6 years behind. Okay, that's another thing right there. Okay, really? 6 years? You haven't made a single payment? I can understand.
In 6 years.
Like, not being able to, I can, but you're telling me you haven't made one payment in 6 years. Come on. Like,
and all they owe is $20,000.
That was the other thing, too. I'm like, wait, $20,000 for 6 years? That's not a lot of money. Like,
yeah, I mean, that would be.
I would think like 100,000.
That'd be like 20,000 divided by 6 equals. That'd be like, oh, I just did times. Oops.
Or you'd be divided.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20,000 divided by 6 would be.
That would be like 3,333 a year.
So you're telling me?
But I mean, this is like 20 some years ago, but still, it's like
it still doesn't matter. It's like, it's just ridiculous. So I was like, what were they doing all that time? Like, where they couldn't make any money? Who cares? I don't care. But like, so
yeah, that'd be $277 a month.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, come on. And for some reason, the bank just let them, probably because they like the country bears so much that they're just like, well, we'll let them take advantage of our kindness because we really like them, and then they'll just not pay us what they owe us because, whatever. And then so Barry shows up, and right around the same time. They got this weird thing too, like they thought would be like a funny bit to like keep throwing around the movie like 10 times, where like one of the bears is like weirdly obsessed with grass for some reason. Like, I don't know why they thought that'd be like a funny thing to add to the movie, but that's what they did.
Yeah, not to get too hung up on this $20,000 thing. So that would be like, okay, so it was like $272 a month. The average rent in the United States at that time was like $600.
Exactly.
I mean,
it's like,
I mean, it might have been a lot less in like smaller towns like this, but I'm just saying that. But that's like rent for like a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment.
Yeah,
not a hall.
Yeah, not a fucking concert hall. With, by the way, we're not just talking about the actual structure. We're talking about the land as well. So that's a lot of land that they bought, and so add that and the house or the hall, and we're only talking $272 a month, and you can't swing that. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, that's at this point, maybe Christopher Walken's character is in the right to just try to tear this place down, because
I know.
Like, if you can't swing that and you don't have the willpower to swing that you're not gonna do anything that it takes in order to keep that place, then you're just gonna be like, oh well, I won't pay for stuff. I know we're hanging up on this part of it. It's such a stupid part of the plot, because I would say 100,000 or like 200, like some enormous.
I would have made it like an outrageous number, but 20,000. I mean, I don't know.
It's just stupid. And so that part's stupid. The grass part is stupid. I don't know. They went back to this grass thing like 5 or 10 times.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we get it. That bear's obsessed with grass. Like, why are we turning this into a bit? Like, where we're just gonna keep doing a callback? Because at one point when the cops show up, the inept ones, the one with the mustache is like, oh, is that Kentucky blah 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 or whatever? And then the bear's like, oh, yes, it is. like, oh, he's so happy that someone else has finally like shared his like passion for grass. I'm like, okay, like, can we stop this? Like, we move on. Like,
maybe
like, can we?
Maybe it was just like a double entendre for like grass being like, weed.
Oh,
and
yeah, it could be. The guy did always sound like he was stoned. Like, he was very slow, and like, you're like, we could do that, and stuff like that. And anyway, so Christopher Walken shows up. He got some weird name, I don't know. And then he's obsessed with tearing this place down. Like, he's like got like a weird on his car. He even has like a demolition like ornament on his car.
Thimple.
Like, yeah, that's right.
Thimple.
What a weird name. And the way he says bear, it's like bears. I can't even do it. Like
bear. Something like
it's like Bader.
Fire. It's like weird. He like adds a Y to it or something. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
It's what he does. Walking. He's got his own voice, but like he's like hell bent on tearing this place down. We don't know. We'll find out why later in the movie, but right now we don't really know what it is. And then there's a scene where like he literally has like a wrecking ball type of thing above his office desk for some reason,
and he has several models of the Country Bear Hall that he just lets it drop onto, and in the scene, which is in my opinion the greatest scene in the history of cinema, it's Christopher Walken just going, oh no,
keeps doing it over and over again, like 5 different times. It's just like, okay, this guy is so obsessed that he has like 5 of these models made up just so that he could crush them. Dude, like, talk about like, you got some like, you need to go see a therapist, man. Like,
I mean,
like no money in the world's got.
I mean, the 5 of those had to cost close to like what the money that the Bears owed you. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're worried about $20,000 and you're building all these models that probably cost, maybe at least $100 each, so you probably have more than the 5. I'm assuming that, I'm just saying.
You're right though. I mean, exactly. It's just so stupid. And so like, basically, Beary has this brilliant idea that apparently no one else has ever thought of, where it's like, oh well, why don't you just get the band back together and then play a reunion concert? And then that's going to really $20,000. Think about that first. How many people would need to show up and pay for a ticket? Like,
I don't know.
Hall, like in a hall. We're not talking about like a stadium. We're talking about a concert hall.
Like, what would you say? So I guess. Well, I guess if you're trying to pay for, see, I mean, I don't know what it seats. Like, what would you say that hall seats? Probably like I don't know, 300 maybe.
Well, that's the thing. At first, when they showed up, when there was actually, that's the other thing too. There were seats originally, but then during the concert, the seats were gone. So I don't know if they just moved them. And then I would say at most that would hold like 100 people safely without like a fire hazard or something. So like, really? So how expensive are tickets? So 20,000 divided. No, I'm not gonna do it right now. 20,000 divided by 100.
20,000
equals like
divided by, we'll say 100. It's like $200 a ticket.
Exactly. Really? Come on. And then for a reunion show that's being promoted for like 2 days or 4 days before.
Well, maybe it fit more people. Maybe it fit more people than we were imagining. I don't know. Maybe it was like closer to like 300. I don't know, but.
Okay, but this is 2002, right? So this is pre, like, the moment you look at your phone, you can find anything. Like 4 days in 2002 to promote a concert.
Yeah,
that's kind of that's a stretch. And so anyway, so they're like, fine, like maybe he's got a point. Maybe we should get the band back together. So one of the guys, I think it was Henry. He's like one of the main bears. He calls up. He's like their the guy that announces them at the. He runs. He's the caretaker of the hall, basically. So yeah. Oh right, yeah. So he's like he knows what he. And so he calls up like, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was gonna say we have our first bear that we meet of the actual bears after they go off on their old tour bus, which was collecting dust, is Fred Betterhead. Again, that name, Betterhead. I mean, it's Bedder, but still, it sounds like better head. Yep. So, yep. Yeah, he's a harmonica and electric bass player, but he's working as a security guard on the set of pop singer Crystal in her cameo. I guess she had like Superwoman was her one hit song that she had back in the day. I don't remember that song at all, but she was pretty good though. Yeah, I mean, so she had this she was going to be filming a music video there, and then Fred drops his harmonica somehow, and she picks it up and sees his name on it and is like, "Oh, you're Fred Betterhead." How would she not know that? I know. Like, if she was such a fan, you know how she'd not know? I mean, like, I'm a big fan of Counting Crows. I guess, maybe if it was somebody other than Adam Duritz of Counting Crows, I probably wouldn't recognize them if they were being a security guard at my music video. But, so right. It's like, I don't know. I guess that's true. Yeah. But, like, how do you not recognize? That's the other thing, too, is a lot of people. So maybe in this universe, too, they don't really recognize, like, bear faces that well. Because they're not human. But when you think it's weird that your that your security guard's a bear and there doesn't seem to be a lot of other bears around. No, they don't care. That's what I'm saying. This universe is full of psychotic people who they see something that's completely abnormal, and like I'm not saying that you should judge or hate someone that's different, but at least you should notice it. It's like, you at least clock it. I mean, you're just like, like if I walked into a Walmart and all of a sudden a bear was just, down the cereal aisle buying some, Sugar Crisp cereal or something, I would kind of look at it weird. Yeah. Just saying. No, exactly. I mean, I'm just saying, like, to not have any discriminatory abilities, that a human being would die like within 2 weeks or like 2 hours, really. Yeah. Of just like, oh, I wonder what this little reptile creature that's hissing angry at me. I think I'm just gonna go try to pet it. Like, and then it's a cobra. If you see a spider in your house that you've never seen, like I saw a weird spider the other day, not here but at my dad's house, that was like brown and had some weird colors on it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's poisonous. I don't know what the fuck it, So it's like, I would not fuck around with that thing. Yeah. I'll be like, I'm gonna either kill you or I'm gonna like pick you up safely and throw you out of the house or whatever. Exactly. So it's like none of these people universe, like they're just not smart people. Like it's So I guess the thing is, it's just bears and humans living side by side. But it also begs the question: are they the only animals in this world? I'm just hung up on this. Like, why are there? Fine. Like they have a pet chicken, and that's fine because it's a regular chicken. It's not like a chicken that's sitting there talking to people. No, it's this one's not anthropomorphized. Yeah, so it's like, so what other? Yeah, exactly. So now we need to know. Are there talking fish?
They say at one time that Trixie left Tennessee for a panda. And
that's right. So there was racism in this movie. There's bare racism.
Yes,
that's right.
They were being racist against pandas. So I think was like that was basically okay. So this goes back to the Cold War, and because a lot of pandas are from China, and
yeah, exactly.
So this movie is anti-communist.
I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, because at one point they say like, "Oh, how come pandas have everything?" I was like, "Oh boy!" Like, I'm like, we got bearism. We got actual bearism in this movie. Maybe they were trying to teach kids not to be racist by doing that. I don't know, but like, and who knows? Anyway, so yeah, just getting hung up on all these like side points. Like we've barely even talked about the movie yet. We've barely ever. No, we're just like talking about the $20,000, like the currency value back then.
I know,
like that. Like,
so,
oh god,
this movie is a fucking fever dream, man. It's like fucking weird.
Oh god, and so yeah, she's like, oh, can you play the harmonica? So then he plays the harmonica with her band, and then he calls up the or no, he's the first one they recruit.
Yeah, they find him, and then he goes and he makes a call to Tennessee. I think is the next. Yeah, no, Zeb Zuber they're looking for next.
Oh yes, right.
And he's been spending years drinking honey at this bar run by Queen Latifah, who he calls Cha Cha. And
yep. Sure.
And then there's this very weird thing where there's this like automatic like bear scratching post that vibrates up and down. It was very kind of sexual and weird in that bar.
That's the other thing too. So I know I keep getting up on this point, but how many anthropomorphic bears are there in the world that we haven't seen any that warrants getting something? Just so that she didn't buy that just for him.
I guess so. But he owes her he owes her $500. So I don't know.
Why was she then buying them?
It's like if you I mean, if there's a corner carry out and there's only one dude who buys Pepsi, they're not going to carry Pepsi. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, they're not going to have like a whole aisle of just Pepsi products because one guy drinks Pepsi. Sorry, it's not how businesses work.
Yeah.
But and so they have this idea, well the kid, Barry has this idea where he goes up to her. He's like, hey, how about this? Like, how about he plays the fiddle against your house band, and if he wins, then he doesn't have to pay you any money anymore. But if he loses, you get to keep the tour bus. And like he just did this he just made this deal on his own
without talking to the owners of the tour bus.
So that's kind of like a shitty move on Barry's, but he's a kid, so he kind of coves the slack on that. But it's so like
he's a small cub. He's good.
Yeah, at first he sounds like shit, and they're like, oh, by the way, Brian Setzer was like the house band.
Yeah.
And it was like, what the fuck are we watching? Like Brian Setzer is like a bear who's trying to play the fiddle, but it's not doing it well at all. He actually sounds horrible at first. And they're like, oh well.
And then they have this song, and Zeb Zuber is voiced by Stephen Root, and he does his own singing, and he sounded really good. I was like, what the fuck? Stephen Root can do anything. That's all I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's my hero.
Well, at least the country bears aren't your heroes. So,
but he's basically he's an enigma. An enigma. What is it?
Wait, what? What's that from? No,
it's from News Radio. An enigma wrapped. What is it?
Oh shit.
Enigma wrapped in is it a mystery smothered in secret sauce or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's Jimmy James. Yeah, Jimmy James. Yeah, Jimmy James.
Like, that's such a weird name. Did you get it, Jimmy James?
Yeah, he was named.
That's like the same name.
He was named after a Beastie Boys song.
Even though he was older than.
Yeah, No, but I'm saying no. The character was named after a Beastie Boys song.
Oh, the character, sorry.
Yeah. So, anyways, back to Zeb Zuber. He wins the battle. So then they go off. And then they call up Alex Rocco's character to have him promote the thing. And we've got this like tight. This is one scene I actually kind of found funny. He's like at a desk and, it looks like he's in his like office or whatever. And he's talking on the phone and he's like, awesome, I'm back, baby. And blah, blah, blah. And then they zoom out and you realize like he's in the middle of like an Office Max. And the guy's like, you're going to have to leave.
Right. It's like, you can't
stay.
He's like, oh, okay. He tried to take. Yeah.
It's like, that's ours. Leave that there.
I like that part too. He's like, oh yeah, like Alex Rocco was great, man. He was a great actor. Yeah.
Short-lived, really good TV series that I got to find somewhere and we can cover for this show is The Famous Teddy Z with him and John Cryer. It was a good show. So yeah,
very cool. Yeah, this was pretty good. Yeah, he wasn't like super famous and but like he was in a lot of stuff and even like the thing with Alex Rocco is that like he could sell a movie with just like a bit part in the movie. Like you didn't have to be like, there's a scene I still watch sometimes, like even on its own, like not even the whole movie, from That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks and a bunch of other cool people. He plays like this like owner of like this big music like record label or whatever. And there's like this scene where he's like talking to the press a little bit and stuff, and then he's like, all right, let's go get some deli or whatever. And then, by the way, if you see the full scene, because like they cut it for the movie, but they also have an extended version where he's like literally like he goes through his whole thing where he's like telling you how to like eat deli correctly, like here's how you dip it in the mustard like this, and you like, I mean, it's just like this beautiful moment where he's just like going for like 2 straight minutes like how to properly eat deli food, and then like and he makes like this big ass turkey sandwich he's eating, and then one of the band members goes up and tries to like talk to him, and like Tom Hanks' character said absolutely do not go and talk to him right now, like do not bother him, but he went ahead and did it anyway, and the guy he starts screaming like, oh, who brought this kid over here and I'm trying to eat here, and it was just like it's like literally like a 2-minute scene in that movie. And I still watch that from time to time on its own just because of how perfectly it was executed.
And Rocco was also a hanger-on of the Winter Hill Gang in Boston and part of the Boston Irish Gang War of the 1960s and did a lot of criminal activity before he changed. Yes.
Are you serious? No way. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. He like attacked people and other things too, so.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, he was arrested several times. He was.
Was this like when he was like really young? Like
when he was Yeah, it was before he became Baha'i. But this is like when he was a teen and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, he was part of the big Boston Irish Gang War of the '60s, which was like a huge deal back then, where they had different gangs fighting each other. But he was part of the Winter Hill Gang, which was a really big gang. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little known thing about him, but yeah. So, but he's still a great actor. And he was a good guy after that. Totally. He did his time.
Yeah.
Whatever. So anyways, he's going to promote the show for them. So, basically, then we have a scene which you talked about earlier, where where officers Hamm and Cheets.
Yep.
Yeah. At least it wasn't cheese, and it's Cheats, and it just sounds like cheese. But
you get it?
Yeah.
Eats, you get it? Get it?
They
go ahead, sir.
Yeah. They ask Big Al for directions to where Barry went, because he tells them that basically that they took it, and because of miscommunications, the officers then think that the Bears have kidnapped Barry. So now they go off to get Tennessee O'Neill, who is now a marriage counselor.
Yep, a bear is a marriage counselor. Yep.
And the way he basically counsels people is by basically telling them how fucked up his life is. I actually had a counselor like this once, so.
Oh, that's That's great.
Yeah, I had to request a new therapist when all he did was try to tell me about his divorce and how it was so much worse than the girlfriend that I was depressed about. So
yeah.
Yep.
So again, no one bats an eye. They're like, a bear is a marriage counselor. Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
And he's wearing like a sweater that I would call like a Cosby sweater, I guess. But
see, this is before Cosby,
was bad.
Everyone knew about the.
But no, what I'm saying
some
is,
people knew about it.
Yeah. No, it was like one of the biggest open secrets in Hollywood. Anyways,
properly.
Or New York City was where he did actually most of his shows. But anyways, so Tennessee O'Neill, he's a one-string guitar player and he's a marriage counselor. He's reluctant to rejoin the band because he wants to reconcile with his ex-girlfriend, who was also kind of part of the band, Trixie St. Clair. So she was like the band's keyboard player. So Cheets and Hamm are after them, and they end up going through a car wash, like after a lame car chase.
The car chase was stupid, man. Yeah.
And so the guys go through the car wash, and not like in a car though. The officers are on foot going through a car wash.
That's very smart. Those things kill you, man. Like,
yeah.
Really, those things, how fast they're flipping around. I know. Shit, like,
they're not made for humans.
There's no judgment. What's that? Yeah.
They're not made for humans or bears or any animal.
Bears, for that matter. Yeah.
So, anyways, they go off on their way, and they stop at this motel. And there was like another scene I think I missed. I don't know, was it before this, where they were in a restaurant, and then the waitress knows their music and starts singing, and there's like this big elaborate dance number in the middle of it, and it was really kind of cool, but still it was weird. So.
That's the other thing too. So there's like 3 genres going on now. It's like a musical kind of, but not really, because there's only 2 of these songs.
Right. I mean, it's like the music. Okay. The music is both like diegetic and non-diegetic, and it's weird. It's strange. Yeah. So yeah.
Edit.
And it's also like part of the. It's not like your typical like musical like Rent or something where the people just break out into music and it makes sense to the plot of the thing. This is just random stops where somebody performs, more like once or something. So I just compared this movie to Once and Rent.
I was like, wait a minute, like I was like, for a second you said Once, and I thought maybe you meant like they did the song Once. I'm like, no, is he talking about the movie?
Yes, because in the movie Once, the music is not really. It's like. It's mostly diegetic, where it's part of the world, and it's not like people just breaking into song. But the
movie Once can't hold a honey candle to this movie, so
I think they should remake the movie Once, but with animatronic bears.
Yes.
They should remake every movie with animatronic bears.
Call it I can't think of anything. Oh man, this movie has, yeah.
So anyways, to speed things up here a little bit, they find Trixie in this hotel that they're randomly staying at. So what are the chances?
She's performing too.
Yeah, and then she performs like a song, and it does a duet with Tennessee in the lobby of the hotel or whatever, and then she agrees to come back, and everything's all good, And their singing voices, like I said before, are Bonnie Raitt and Don Henley, who are then sitting at the bar at the hotel or whatever as themselves, reacting to themselves performing, really. And they said that was great, and he says it's better than the Eagles. Yep. And I was like, because he was in the Eagles, and I'm just like, oh my god. So
and it's like,
oh boy. So then what? Then we got so Trixie's on board, and then they finally head out to find their last member, Ted Betterhead. They first, what's his name? Henry, or what is his name?
Henry, I think.
Yeah, he calls up Ted and tells and Ted basically is like, fuck you, I'm not coming.
Yeah, pretty much.
But he was the lead singer, so they kind of need him.
Yeah, you can't have a band without a lead singer, so.
And so they go off and Henry lies to them and says that he's on board, and then they go up to what they think is his house, which I don't know how they knew where that was, but anyways, I'm not gonna question the logic of this movie. And then they ask the gardener, who is Elton John.
For some reason.
Yes, Sir Elton John is in this fucking movie. So
Yep.
And he's the gardener, so and they're walking away, and somebody's like, one of them's like, that gardener kind of looked like Elton John. It's like, no, I've met Elton John. He's taller. It's like,
exactly.
Yeah. So he ends up saying that Ted's at a wedding, and
yeah.
So they go to the local country club where the wedding is, and Ted's there, and the bears are just kind of like mingling with everybody, and everybody's loving them, and we find out that Ted is a wedding singer. So, which I feel bad for wedding singers because they basically put them down too in this movie. So,
in a lot of movies too, that's like they act like it's like you're not a real musician because you can only play weddings. I'm like, yeah, weddings party last a long time.
Yeah,
hours.
I mean, I DJ weddings, so I know. But so they
and to learn that,
Yeah, and so then we have a scene of assault where Fred goes back to talk to Ted. They're brothers, by the way, because they're both named Betterhead. I don't know if they made that clear, but Ted and Fred Betterhead.
Assume,
yeah. They in a lot of these names, I'm pretty sure most of these names are actually the names of the characters in the Country Bear Jamboree. So, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So they basically, Fred punches Ted and they basically kidnap him.
Yep.
So there's assault and kidnapping.
Yep.
Not to mention the fact that they've been traveling around the country, I guess, with a minor. But
with the yeah.
and a chicken. And so they learned that he's only a wedding singer and that he also does children's birthday parties and shit like that and make fun of him for it, basically.
Not rich.
And Ted says that the real problem was Zeb's drinking, that, he says that he claims that he was the only one holding them together and that Zeb's drinking is what broke him apart or something. And they say drinking.
Oh, then honey, man.
But I mean, I'm assuming they mean honey, but they should have said drinking of honey because all of a sudden now it becomes that he's an alcoholic.
Yeah. Well, he's a honeyholic,
Yeah.
And so.
A honeyholic. And so Tennessee has an emotional outburst, and Fred is immature, and that's what they say. He says broke up the band, and then Barry tries to remind him that they claimed that in some magazine that they loved each other like a family.
Right.
Then Ted says, "Oh, that's just meaningless publicity," and tells him that he knows nothing about the real bears and that they're not a family. So Barry, starts to realize the feeling of a real family is the people that love you. And so he decides he wants to go home. And he runs to his house.
Yeah, he runs.
They've been traveling all over the fucking country in a bus. Yep. But he somehow is able to run home.
Not only that, but also know what directions to go, what roads to, because I'm assuming we're talking back roads here.
Yeah.
Can't exactly run on the highway, or expressway.
But where were they? Were they close to his house? Were they 8 states away? Where the fuck were they?
Who knows? That's the whole thing. What's the other thing? That's what even makes it weirder. So far that we know of, that they're the only anthropomorphic bears that exist. They're also all happen to be musicians, and they're not family. So that means each one of them has parents somewhere.
Yeah.
Were they regular bears?
So that implies that there's other. Or did these bears just one day learn that they could talk and sing and play, bass guitar or shit. What the fuck, you know?
That's what I'm saying. Like, just teaching that happened where their parents were regular bears, but then for some reason they became, you know,
better
don't
bears.
tell them because then the government might then try to track down these bears and like force them to keep breeding them because they want to have more bears.
I think that they were giving sexual favors, and then somehow they got better in the world because they were giving better head. And sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly what's going on. No. Well, that's what apparently people now are, you know, right wing saying about Kamala Harris. That
yeah,
she slept her way up and blah blah blah. It's like, fuck you. Anyway, so I know we shouldn't say politics, but yeah,
I don't give a fuck. This is a political movie, my friend. It's anti-communist and pro giving head, I think, or something. I'm not sure what I'm missing in this movie.
But yeah, he runs like Forrest Gump home.
Yeah.
Somehow knows that he's there,
which is ironic because Haley Joel Osment played Forrest Gump Jr. So
oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
and so I don't know, and so like I still can't get over the name Betterhead. I don't.
Me either.
I just why would you do that? I don't get it. But like and have brothers, so they're both in the same name, so you got to hear the same name being thrown around constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so fucking stupid. But so he goes home, everyone's like crying. Okay, but never mind. There's this part with the Hamm and Cheets.
Yeah.
Where they show up for the first time when they're getting info on Barry.
Yeah.
And then he goes, Hamm goes, Hamm and Cheets. Yeah, we get that all the time. And then the dad goes, well, that's your name. Something like that.
Stephen Tobolowsky is funny though, so yeah.
I love it. But sorry, that was like a throwback to earlier.
Yeah,
so they're all happy to see him.
But there's another scene too where because Barry had called Dex, his brother, and told him that, you know, he wasn't kidnapped and blah blah blah, and then Dex is trying to tell the cops and his parents, and nobody's believing him. It's just like,
yeah, that's the other part. So it's just like, so you think that he's been kidnapped, and you're just like, yeah, who cares? You know,
it's so fucking weird.
And there's more chance, like actually a significantly more chance of him being kidnapped by running home, perhaps states away from home by himself. No identification on him. No, nothing. He left all of his stuff apparently at the bus.
I'm just wondering, is he like Usain Bolt or something? Like, is he like, you know, able to like run?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on? Anyways, he got home and they're all like happy and everything, and of course, and so then he's in his room and he's taken down all of his Country Bear stuff because they disappointed him, you know, so now he's gonna stop liking their music and everything, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I've done that shit before too. Like when I find out something bad about somebody, I'm like, yeah. Well, I mean,
it's a little kid. It makes sense. Plus, for me too.
But usually, when I stop liking somebody, is like when I find out that that R. Kelly is a pedophile. You know, that's when I start.
Well, it's usually something big. Yeah. For a kid, though, it's big. You know, so and. Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking of honestly burning off my Harry Potter shit just because of how crazy J.K. Rowling is getting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she's gotten to the point where she's almost like really, really far gone. So it's like I've been thinking, like, should I just throw this shit away at this point? Like,
yeah, but the thing is, it's like there's so many other people that went. I mean, at least the movies, I should say. There's so many other people that had a part in that. That's why I keep my box set of the Harry Potter movies, but it's still
that's different. The movies, obviously, but yeah. So yeah, you're right. Go ahead. I didn't mean to keep doing.
But I don't promote book burning even for something like that. I would just say donate them to a library. So because somebody will get enjoyment out of them. What's that?
I say yeah, but it looks cooler to burn them.
I know. Just make a fire with wood. Don't burn books, because then you look like Hitler.
Yeah, but it's fun.
You look like Hitler or one of those crazy priests or ministers that want to burn books and shit. Anyways, so we've got but back on track to the movie.
Go ahead.
Back on track to the movie. So he's taking down all this shit, and then Ted comes in and, you know, is just like, you know, trying to basically apologize and tell him that, that they're, that he realizes that the bears are his family and shit.
And shit, yep.
So we then have one of the biggest twists in movie history, because we find out that first off, we find out that Christopher Walken's character stole the bus, and then he's locked up the bears in cages. But in this scene, we find out, and I got kind of scared at first because earlier on in the movie, I forgot to mention this, they had a flashback to where the bears first kind of got their popularity when there was like a talent competition between them and a arm musician named Benny Boggswaggle, and his thing was that he could play music on his armpits, like armpit farts. And so we find out in this scene that our villain has been trying to destroy the country bears ever since that, because he's actually the armpit guy, Benny Boggswaggle.
Yep.
Because there was a scene, he's like, here's why, and he starts like undressing, and that kind of scared me, because I was like, I really hope that Christopher Walken's not about to get naked here in this movie. And
no, I knew exactly what was happening. I'm like, oh, he's the armpit guy.
I didn't want him to bare himself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
bare naked.
I didn't want him to get bare naked in front of the ladies. Anyway, so
that's the other thing. Did they even wear clothes? The bears?
Yeah, they had clothes, but I don't know.
They were okay.
I don't know if they had pants. I'm not sure, but
okay.
Yeah. Because a lot of times animals don't have pants. I mean, with the exception of, I mean, we have figured out that the reason that Donald Duck doesn't have pants is because him and Mickey are sharing an outfit. Because Mickey has pants and no shirt. But
wow.
So Thimple turns out is Boggswaggle, and anyways, they figure out where he is because of this. They track him with this like bear tracking thing that was in with Barry's stuff in the van, or not van, the bus or whatever. So they find where it is. They go off on looking for him, and they got a boat that they're dragging behind their van with Ted in it, because he can't fit inside the minivan. And they got this like crazy chase, down the road, and then they get to the place, and Ted goes flying with the boat into the place through the window, and then he ends up knocking the cage door open, and the bears are free, and so now they can get back to the Country Bear Hall and save the day, right?
Well, no, actually.
No. We find out that Thimple had paid Rip not to promote the show.
Oh, double cross.
Yep. So we got two villains here, and but then Big Al suddenly arrives and reveals to everyone that he promoted the show himself, and everyone's in a different parking lot because he doesn't want them to ruin his grass out front.
Oh God, the grass bit again. I swear. I was so mad when they did that. I'm like, really? We're going back to that?
So then a surge of the most excited extras I've ever seen in a movie come into the place.
Yep.
Like they're about to see the second coming of Christ or something. They're just like all excited. It's just so freaky.
No, they're like, no, they're literally like, oh my God, Jimi Hendrix has been resurrected. I'm gonna finally get to see him.
Jimi Hendrix, who played the Country Bear Hall at one point where he opened up for vanilla.
Yeah.
He opened up for Vanilla Fudge.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's just like,
yeah. So, anyways, the money they raise is enough to save the bears, and they perform. And Barry is now a new member of the band. And at one point, he has this big guitar solo on a one-string guitar.
I hated that part. There's no way he would be able to play that solo.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, all of a sudden, he's like up here like he's fucking Eddie Van Halen or something, and he's like, you're just like, what the fuck? He's got one string.
So at first he was just playing like a lot of single notes. So I was like, okay, that's probably fine. But then he starts doing, like, there's no way he'd be able to do all that, like just from sliding his finger across the like he had like a slide on his
yeah, he had
whatever,
like a slide, but still,
like there's no way he should be able to do that. And it's just like, for one thing, the Bears shouldn't be able to play songs and guitars anyway because their hands are so large, and I'm not sure how that would even work. But fine, it is what it is, I guess. But yeah. So you mean to tell me though, for 6 years they could have solved this problem, and then they wait until they're $20K in debt and 4 days away from the building being demolished by a bitter ex-rival, I guess, or whatever you would call them. And then they're like, no, I'll just wait until it's almost over to do anything about it. It's typical bear shit, It's like the panda bears aren't like that,
You know how you can tell like what kind of bear it is in their shit. You got to look for certain. I'm joking.
Yeah, I know.
So
there's like a little scene.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, like, there's like a scene near the end where the cops are like at the car wash, I guess, or something, or like.
Yeah, and then there's like a little there's a little documentary thing playing during the credits where you got people like Wyclef Jean and Exhibit and Queen Latifah and Willie Nelson and everybody talking about how great the Bears are and how inspiring they were to them.
Sure. Wait, old as the Bears though, if they inspired Willie Nelson.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Like, were they from like the 30s or 40s?
I know.
Like
Willie Nelson even then was older than dirt. It's like, what the fuck?
I was saying, yeah, exactly. Just like, really? Okay. Or maybe, yeah, who cares? I don't care. But
so I went off on this is going to be a tangent, but it makes sense here. So the restaurant scene where the waitress like singing and stuff. I looked up that place because I thought it was interesting. It was a place called Johnny's Broiler in Downey, California. It was originally known as Harvey's Broiler, but I noticed they had like a little they actually call him the Fat Boy, and it was similar to Big Boy.
Oh, okay.
So I went off onto this little thing where I found I guess a lot of movies, including Can't Hardly Wait, which we covered on this show, were filmed at that place. So I'm reading the history of this place, and so it closed at one point, and in 2006, the owners signed a lease with a new tenant who wanted to demolish the place. The city of Downey. So this is very similar to the situation with the Country Bear Hall.
Okay.
The city of Downey rejected the demolition permit in November of that year. But the guy that bought it, Ardis Yannick, proceeded with plans to remove the structure anyway the following year. So he illegally demolished the place. And they stopped him halfway through the demolition because it was illegal. And so then because he didn't have permission to do it. And basically what ended up happening eventually, I'm just like kind of fast forwarding through this, they reconstructed the whole place to the original blueprints. And currently, guess what it is? It's a Bob's Big Boy.
No, shit. That's fucking great, man. Bob's, oh god, I love Big Boy.
Yeah, so they basically it looks exactly kind of the same, except for now it's a Big Boy, and that's the way they got to save it. This guy put a bunch of money in and saved the place. They reconstructed it, and this guy who was like a franchisee of Bob's Big Boy in that area, what's his name? I was looking for his name because I wanted to give him credit. I can't find it. You can look it up, people. So yeah, but he fixed it. But this place has been used in Bob Dylan music video. Things Have Changed. The movie 1 Hour Photo, The Beach Boys and American Family, a ABC movie, The X-Files, Falcon Crest, the movie License to Drive. What's Love Got to Do with It? Can't Hardly Wait, as I said. Jawbreaker, Unstrung Heroes, Midnight Madness, Reality Bites, Shortcuts, a Sean Kingston music video, a John B music video, a Madonna music video, Goody Mob music video, The Country Bears, My Stepmother is an Alien, Riot, Matchstick Men, Heat, The Game, Mission Impossible 2, Bounce, Mad Men, Earth Girls Were Easy, Strange Drag music video, She's Out of Control, and a Limp Bizkit music video. So this place has been used a lot to film in. So yeah. So yeah, I think that's really kind of an interesting story that I just wanted to add on to the Country Bears because that was more interesting to me than the actual movie. So
yeah, man.
Yeah. So any final thoughts here before we wrap this up?
No, not really. I mean, this has been a long episode.
In one of our longest episodes ever.
It's really because we got so hung up on the $20,000 part.
I know. So you know what?
Really,
I do want to say though, if you want to keep the All Too Real 2 haul open, you can go to our Patreon and become a member there. Also, you can go to our TeePublic and buy some merch there. Go to all2real2.com, find all of our information there. You can also go to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review. If you're the 50th reviewer, you can get a free t-shirt from our TeePublic, any of your choice, in whatever size you want. And I'll be grateful and I'll thank you in an email too, even. Also, just go out on the street and, get the band back together and, tour the world and sing the praises of All Too Real 2.
Sure.
That's a good way to do it. And
I can do it.
Yeah. Any other words of wisdom for our fans out there, Sesame?
No, I think I'm all tapped out.
I am too.
Sorry, guys.
I barely got anything left in me. Barely. Anyways, so just remember that I love you. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I can't do a Christopher Walken. Sesame loves you.
No. Yep.
Free Palestine. And until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.